Hello everyone, I am Damien from memoQ's marketing team, and I will be the host of this webinar. Our presenter today is Angelica Zafas. She once earned a degree in translation for Chinese and Japanese, but she moved very early in her career to the most technical side of the translation business. She has been a trainer for translation tools for the last 20 years and has worked with memoQ since the tool came to market in 2006. Today's session, Hidden Treasures in memoQ, will be about the features in memoQ that you will probably only find by accident and others that do not have any icons on the menu ribbon. The session is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel in a few days. You can ask questions in the question and answers panel, and Angelica will provide answers at the end of the session. The session itself will last approximately 30 minutes, and there will be 10 more minutes for question and answers. Now, I would like to hand over to Angelica, and I will let her start the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you very much. And I'll be going into sharing my screen with you. You should see memoQ coming up. So this is a session about all the things that I found out while looking through different dialogues of memoQ, just clicking wildly around, and I would like to share these with you. I would like to start with something that everybody does now once in a while, that's right-clicking. So we all know that you can do a right mouse click on a project, you find some things there, but some might not have noticed that you can also right-click the bar that has all the names of the columns. So you can select which columns you want to show. As I'm using a project management version here, I do have a few more columns than the average translator would have. So that's a little bit of a difference in the user interface. But still, as a translator, you can also click the bar and see what columns you can show. And the columns can also be moved around a little bit. So if you want to rearrange them, you can just grab them and move them. So that is something I would suggest that wherever you are, do a right mouse click once in a while just to see what happens. Now let's see, inside of a project, when you have a project open, of course, you can also do a lot of right clicking. Let's go into one of the documents. If you do a regular right mouse click, we all know that. We have a lot of things that we use a lot, for example, clearing translations or adding comments, stuff like that. But maybe you might not have seen the row history. So that is something, when you click on that, you would see how a segment has changed over time. So who changed it and when. You could even restore a previous version. So if you select one, you can say, I want to restore that version of that one segment only. And then there is something that I like a lot, is you right mouse click the name of the tab. And there you get a way to copy the path. To copy the path, the full path to the file, or only the relative path. So just the subfolder and the file name, which can be quite handy at some times. Now, this is something, sometimes you need the name of the file itself, not the path. This is something you can do from the list of documents, actually. And let's go to the list of documents. So, for example, I would like to have all these file names. I want to send them off in an email to a colleague of mine, to my project manager. I don't want to retype them. So I select them, right mouse click, and way down here, there is the copy file name. So you could also copy the path here. So copy file name would put that into the, well, let's take that away. Just tested it before I used it here. So I've put it into the clipboard. If I use now Control and V to insert, I get the list of the file names and can send it off either in an email, save it to a document, whatever I would like to do. So this is something that's really nice, doing right mouse click and say, I want to copy the path and copy the file names. I hope you saw that right now, because I just got a message that I'm moving away from what I'm showing on my screen. But yeah, try it out, do a right mouse click and copy the file names. Another thing that might be useful for project managers who are working with a server, there's also something very nice with a right mouse click. Let me just quickly move to my server here. So if you have a project, or actually you could also do it on several projects at the same time, and you do a right mouse click, there is create the project report. And creating the project report would mean that you can include the name of the person who imported the documents and also the time when a document was imported. And if you're working with different source language versions, so updated versions of the source documents, then you would also have a chance to see what the name of the document was before you actually put another document on top of it. Let me show you how that looks like. I've just prepared that. So that would be, I hope you can see that. Can anybody let me know if you can see that?
No, we can't see.
You cannot see
your dashboard.
Okay, let me see how I can share that. Let me share my whole screen. I hope you can see now my Excel file.
Yes, now we can see it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Damien.
Thank you.
So the Excel file from this project report lets you view inside of one project or several projects. It would be then all in the same file. When the project was created, did it use a template? Was it content connected? The size and so on, the regular things. And if you move further over here, you could see that document latest, yes or no. So you can see that demo 2, yes, it's the latest version of the document in my project. And demo 1, that was a previous version. That's not the latest version. That's the version that's below version demo 2. So this is quite nice to have a look at which files were there to begin with and what other files have been added as an updated version on top of that. So this is something that the project report can do. This only works for online projects, and you need to have a project management license to do so. Now let's go back to our regular project and go to the webinar project again. Another thing that I find that a lot of users don't realize that they have it is in the translations, you can add or you can open all these tabs, and they all have this small X to close them again. But actually, on the right-hand side, there's a small arrow. If you click on that, you can switch between the active document. So all the tabs that are open, you can switch to the one that you want to work on right now, or you can close them all, especially if you're working with a lot of files and leave them open when you close the project. When you open the project again, it might take some time for all these files to open up. So it might be a good idea to close all the documents before you close the project. It makes everything a little bit faster. So let's go into one of these files. I want to switch to another topic, to the topic of tags, because there is quite a lot of functionality to add tags to text. So let's take segment number 3. I've translated segment number 3. I would like to insert my tags that are in the source text. Of course, we all know we can do copy paste, Control-C, Control-V, no problem there, which is not the most elegant way, but it's one way of doing it. Then we have the copy next tag sequence. And as you can see here, there's a shortcut, F9. So F9 would be wherever you place your cursor, press F9, the first tag, and then the next tag, and so on, will be inserted. And here's a nice trick. You can even select the word or the part of the segment that needs the tags around it, and then copy the next tag sequence, and it will copy. If it's a tag pair, it will put them around it. If it's just one tag, it might just overwrite the text you've just selected. So you need to be careful with that. But if it's a tag pair, this is how you can really nicely add the tag pair and don't have to click twice. So then there's another way how you can put in tags. I think a lot of people have never seen this. That's a tag insertion. Let's take a look at segment number 5. So here I would need to put in all these tags. Let's make them a little bit bigger so that we can see what's inside. So we have tags for italics, for bold, for underlined, and I need to put them in here, but not in the same sequence as they are in the source text. So I would need to move around in the segment. And here's the trick. You click on Tag Insertion just once so that it's highlighted. When I move my mouse pointer over here, you can see that the mouse pointer now has a small tag attached to it. So that means wherever I click now, this tag will be inserted. So I can now click here, click there. Oops. Do it on the right spot. Click here, click there, click here, click there. So if you have lots and lots of tags, you might want to add them with this tag insertion option. Don't forget to uncheck it, because otherwise everywhere you click, a tag will be inserted if there is one in the source that's not yet in the target. And then there is another one for adding tags and deleting tags. And this is something where we don't have an icon for. As you can see here in the sentence, I've added it. Alternate F8 adds all tags. So if I place my cursor, press alternate F8, I get all the tags that are in the source sentence. If I press Control F8, all the tags are being deleted. Now let me show a process where this might come in really handy. Sometimes I have a PDF file. So when I open the PDF, it gets converted into a Word file, and I end up with a PDF file that has lots and lots of tags, where it's sometimes not really clear whether these tags really mean anything. So I want to get rid of all the tags. I cannot do that in the source text, but here's the trick. Select everything, Control, Shift, and A. Copy source to target, Control, Shift, and S. And then delete all tags, Control F8. All tags will be removed. Now export this file. It will be a Word file with just pure text, no formatting whatsoever, no tags. And then you can import that file again as the source file to start your translation. Sometimes that makes more sense to prepare a file like that than dealing with all the tags that obviously do not have really any meaning, like in these segments. Another thing with tags is, here is a tag that says A. First of all, another thing, how to get tags into your translation, then we'll talk about the A tag. So here you can see in this segment, I have not only tags for a link, for an image, I also have a non-translatable marked in gray. I have something from the term base marked in blue, and I have a number. So all these elements somehow need to go into my translation. If you press the Control key just once, just tip the Control key on your keyboard, you will see a list of all the elements that you can take over from the source text into the target. For the non-translatable, obviously it stays the same. For the term, it would show you the translation of the term from your term base, and for the number, depending on the language pair that you're using, it would use the comma instead of the dot, because I'm translating into German here, which uses the comma for decimal numbers. So you can then select from this list, press Control again, and you get the rest of the list, and you can put them all into your sentence. Now let's go with the A tag. The A tag hides a link, so we can take a look at the inline tags in a long format, so we can see what's inside of that link. And now my client told me, well, actually, the links need to be adjusted as well. So instead of .com, it needs to be .de, because I'm translating into German. But at the moment, there's no way for me to get inside of the tag and do something with the text inside. But here again is the trick. You can select the tag and use the key combination Control and F9. So Control and F9, which will call up a small window that shows you the links in this segment. When you select the link, you have an editing field. Down here, you could then adjust the link if necessary, save the change, and it goes back, and now the link has been adapted. So these are all things where we don't have really any icons where we can click on to find this feature. This is just in the shortcuts. Now, talking about shortcuts, I have something else for you. You probably already know Control F or Control H. So Control F to get the search dialog, or Control H to get the find and replace dialog. Now this dialog is minimized. To get the big one, you would have to click on this extra icon. But if I'm doing a lot of things where I need the large dialog right away, here's the trick on how to get that. Press Control F and F again, or Control H and H again. So Control F, F would bring you the big dialog. So you don't have to click on any place to call up the maximize dialog. You can go there right away. Another thing that I find, a lot of people use dialogues, and I include myself, and we never really look at all the options that we have there. So here I would like to point out a few options where you can really save some time sometimes. For example, that you can search also inside of comments. So if there's text inside, if there's a comment, like with the yellow bubbles, and there's text inside, you want to search for a certain comment or a certain part of a comment, that's the way to do it. Or you can search within the text of a tag as well. Sometimes you know there's a tag that was called so-and-so. And this was the sentence that I really need to look at, but I didn't put a comment to it, so I can't find it back. So this is a way to search inside of the tags. Let's search for the term sample inside of the tags, either in the source or in the target text. And let's find it. Here we go. The tag has been highlighted because the word sample was found inside of the tag. Now, another thing, we do search and replace, but sometimes we would like to do just a search to see how many of these segments are there, and then later on maybe work with the sentences that were found. For this, we have something called mark all. Now let me show you. I'm going to find all the sentences that contain the word with in the source text and mark them. I'll just mark them. I don't do anything with it. It tells me how many matches I get, so how many segments or how many times this word came up. And what happened after doing this mark all, you will see that the comment bubble, which is usually just blue and yellow when there is a comment inside, but if it is marked with a search, then it has this outline around the comment bubble. So this would be the mark that something has been searched for, has been marked up during the search, and now we can find it back. Of course, there's a filter for it. We can filter for the status and say, I want to go to everything that has been marked by find and replace. And there we go. These are the segments that have this outline around the comment bubble. So this is a little bit about searching inside of projects. Now let me go back to my project list again, because there's also a really nice filter area for projects up here. And of course, we can type in part of the name of what we are searching for, press enter, and we will find the projects. But sometimes we're not really interested in the name. We want to search for any project that is larger than so and so many words or segments, depending on how you've set it up, if you're counting words or segments in the size, and maybe was created after a certain date or by a certain user. And for that, if in this search field you don't type anything, you just press the space bar. Oops, there should be. Yeah, there's the list. So that's the list of features or functions or parts that you can search for. And here's also something called size. So you could say the size must be larger than 500 words or segments. If you start typing in capital letters, or just press the space bar again, you get the list again. And here you can see now we also have these Boolean operators, so and, not, or, so we can combine these. We could say and the name contains web. So there we go. Now we find all projects with a name that have web inside and a size that's larger than those 500 segments or words. So this is a really nice way of searching quite easily and very fast in the list of your projects. When we're talking about finding things in projects, we also talk about finding a lot of things in a lot of files. So let me go to my second project here. Let's just imagine I've translated a website. So there's a whole folder. Let me just close this. There's a whole folder of lots and lots and lots of files. And now I need to do a search and replace over all these files. Of course, most of you probably know that you can do that with a view. So we can select the files. Let me just select them all. Say I want to create a view. Glue them all together, basically. We move from the Documents tab to the Views tab. And we can now open that as one long list of segments and do search and replace here. The thing is, I tried to do that with a project where I had 2,500 files. And I needed to find something with regular expressions in these 2,500 files. So creating a view with 2,500 files is not really recommended because, first of all, it takes a long time to create the view. It takes a long time to open the view. It takes even longer to do a search inside the view. So what can you do? You can search without even opening the files. So let me just remove the view. Go back to my documents. You select the documents, and instead of opening them, you use Control F to call up the search dialog. And now let's see. In the files, I had all these Latin fill up text like lore ipsum something. I want to change ipsum to something. Or if you're into regular expressions, you can go to the regular expressions tab and do your search and replace here. Let me choose that again. And that means I can now do a search and replace over hundreds of files without even having to open the files themselves. You have to be very sure that this is what you want to do because you're actually changing the files, but it's possible. So we could now say replace all. And we get 188 segments, and 84 were replaced because it also found it in the source. I just copied source to target, so it didn't really do anything in the source. If you want to change source text also, it's possible, but it's not in the search and replace dialog. That would be in the options under miscellaneous, where you can also say, let's see, allow replacement in source segments. Be very careful with that because it changes your source documents, but sometimes it might be necessary if, for example, the name of a product needs to be changed all over the whole project. So this is a little bit about, shortcuts, searching, replacing, finding things. I also found two things that I really find quite neat because they can be quite helpful. So for example, I have 2 PowerPoint presentations, and my client thought it was really good because he put some English text in and also some German text. And now he wants me to translate only the English text into some other language. The German should stay the same. But of course, they don't want to have all the German text in the analysis results. They don't want to pay for the words, right? The same thing here, same presentation. This time it's English into Japanese. Now, how do I find all that stuff? With English Japanese, it might be okay because you can really see where the different segments are. With English and German, it might be a little bit more difficult. So here's the trick. There's a feature in the preparation. You can lock segments, of course. And there is a small option that says rows in a different language. It also says that it won't work 100% with 100% accuracy because it's not intelligent. So it's not understanding the text. It's going by internal statistics and stuff. So for English and German, the results are not as good as for English and Japanese. Let me show you. I'm going to lock all the rows with a different language. So in Japanese, as you can see, the Japanese segments have been locked everything that's English is now still open. So I could now create my statistics. Locked stuff is not counted in the statistics, or only if I check the box for it. Now let's do the same thing for English and German. So here you can see one German was not found because it's very similar. There's also one German that was not found in between. I'm not sure why. I don't have information on how this feature is working, but it might be a good starting point because now you can hide everything that's locked and look at the rest of the text. And that might be easier than going through the whole document segment by segment and deciding if it needs to be locked or not. So the last thing I would like to mention is if you are in a translation and you take a look at your results list, you get results from translation memories in red, you get results from term bases in blue, and here you can see there are different types of blue. So one is a little bit lighter than the other. That's because I have two different term bases in the background, and they are ranked. So what comes from the darker blue term base, that's a higher ranking term base than the one that's a little bit lighter. But what you can also see is that there is an I symbol which is closed. That basically means that memoQ right now is hiding things from us because it's only showing us the best matches. So let's click on it. If we click on it, memoQ will show us what it's hiding. So right now we see, so the same sentence match comes from the translation memory, symbol in red, and symbol in blue, meaning that comes from an alignment. So manual link from the alignment here. The alignment is also called webinar. And from the terminology side of view, we not only have the background noise, so the big term that was found inside of our sentence, but also the word background, which is only part of that bigger term. And that means that memoQ can hide shorter terms if there is a bigger term available that covers more. Now, sometimes I don't want that. So I would like to make sure that memoQ always shows me all the terms it's got. And for that, do a double click on the I symbol. The double click on the I symbol will give you lots and lots of settings. So how many matches from translation memories should be shown? Do you want to see corpus hits without a translation? So from a LiveDocs corpus that only finds the source sentence or source segment, but doesn't have a translation with it. Match patch. Do you want memoQ to try to fix matches? They would then come up with an exclamation mark in front of the number. And here's the one about the terms. So the longest source term hides the shorter matches. If you don't want that, you can uncheck the box. And here's also for the terms how they are shown in the list, in the order as they appear in the segment, or maybe you want to see them in alphabetical order in the results list here. So this is something that you can check if you like to do it. Here's also, you might have noticed, let me just go back to one of the sentences from the translation memory. You might have noticed that these three windows, there are two different ways how you can show the changes. I'm using the so-called traditional view that was there in the first version of memoQ. But there's also one way you can use track changes to show the changes. That's what you get when you use memoQ as it is, when you install it as it is. If you don't like that type of tracking changes view, double click, traditional view, and go back to the color marking. So as you can see, right mouse clicks, double clicks, clicking anywhere you can find in memoQ might bring you some surprising information that can be quite useful. And now let's go over to the questions. So do we have any questions? Let's see. So there's a question. I've talked about the marking function. Could you explain how these marks can be removed? Good question. Really good question. Let me check that. Let's search for button and mark all. So this one is marked now. Let's see if we can do anything to that. Looks like there's no way to remove the mark. Interesting. I'll take that into my list of enhancement requests and send it into support to see if there's anything that we can do to remove the marks. So far, it seems that there is no way to do so. So there's another question, if it's possible to have all this information written down in a sort of cheat sheet. Well, actually, the recording of the webinar will be available, so you can always check that. There's also my presentation from memoQ Fest, which can be downloaded from the memoQ website. Some of the things are in there as well. Otherwise, I can also send my agenda around. Most of the things are on there. So if you like, I can do so and send it to Damien, and he'll send it out to the others. Another question. How can I find previous projects on a new computer if I have downloaded memoQ to a new computer with the same serial number? Somehow my projects don't show on my new computer, but when I try to create a project with the same name, I get the message that a project already exists. Right. So the thing is, if you move to a new computer, but copy all the folders that you had on the old computer, your projects are actually still there. And usually, if you don't change the location of your projects, let me just make that a little bit bigger. Oh, come on. I don't know why it's not letting me make this broader. Ah, there we go. Come on. Okay. This is not working as it should. Too fast. So usually your projects are under users, your username, documents, my memoQ projects. So if you move that folder as well from one machine to the other, of course, memoQ would try to create a folder for the new project inside this folder, but there already is a folder with the same name. So how to get your project back? You can do the following. Go to the memoQ tab, go to Open Project, and Open Project again. And that will let you search for the folders that contain the projects. And each folder then would have a project mprx file. If you click that, memoQ opens it and basically then has the connection to the folder where your project is. So you can get them all back, but you need to know where they are. I hope that helps to find the projects. Another question, how did you increase the size of your text on the screen? Yes, that's also another one. Let me go back to my project. Move here. I like to do that for training purposes because then it's easier to see what I'm actually doing. To change the size of the text, you go to the options, to the 3 small gear wheels up here, and then to the appearance. And there is a small drop-down menu. It's usually set to 10 point, which I personally find a little bit too small. So I usually put it up to like 12 or 14. You can do that for Latin-based text, for example. And then there's a specific one for Chinese, for the 2 Chinese is Japanese and Korean. So there you can also increase the size. And on this area here, you can do all the changes to colors. For example, the text color is black, an inline tag is gray, the memoQ tags are purple. On the lookup results, that's the list how the results in the lookup area will come up. So right now, if I have a translation memory match, it will be in red. If I have a term-based match, it will be in blue. I can even move it up and say term-based matches are much more important for me. So I move it up, which means my results list will from now on show the term-based hits first. So this is something where you can do a lot of the color changing. And yeah, I know a lot of people, or some of my friends are have color blindness or have difficulty distinguishing green and red. So they sometimes change the colors to something that is more distinguishable for them. Okay, let's see. What other questions do we have? How can you get a list of all comments? Yeah, not really inside memoQ, but if you export the document, export into a bilingual format, use the table RTF, you will have an extra column that contains all the comments that are on the segments. Inside memoQ, I have not seen a way to list all the comments in one long list. Sorry about that. But again, something for the enhancement list. Okay, question on the tags, expanding the formatting tags. Yes, if you are in the quick access bar, there's an icon for the inline tag, so you can show them short, which means you just see that there is a tag but no name. You can show them in medium, so that it is with a name. You can show them in long, and then you can see everything that's inside. And I think the filtered one would just show the actual names, but not the attributes that are in there. So usually the medium setting or the long setting, if you really need to know what's inside, then that would be a good choice. So there was hiding locked segments in the foreign language to search others. Okay, hiding segments. Let's see, for example, I'm going to lock these segments, Control L, so that they're locked. And now I'm going to filter and say I only want to see the not locked segments. And that would give me a view of all the segments that have not been locked. So now I can do something to them. I usually do that when I have, for example, a QA check, and I'm going through and I'm only showing the ones that have a QA checking message. And then once I've worked through a few of them, I lock them so that my list gets a little bit shorter that I have to scroll through. It's also a psychological thing, so that I have the feeling I have done something and it's not as much to do anymore. So yes, and if you want to undo that filtering, you just click on this icon here and it will show all the segments again. Another question, do you know a trick to unfilter apart from the click on the red cross in the filter area? Not really. I know what you mean, but other than really taking the filter off, I really don't know what else you could do. Maybe work more with views so that you can keep the view of the segments and then do something else when you switch back to the document so that you have a different list or different view of the document like that. Maybe that might be some way to go. It depends on what you really want to do. Now, question, is editing a link tag content for link tags only, or can I edit other tags as well? Interesting question. Let me check if I have another tag that I can, let me just unlock these so that I can get at the links or at the tags. Let's see, if I select this one, do the Control F9, I do get the I tag, but this is an HTML file, so the I tag really cannot be changed for italics. Let's try if we can do that with the image tag. We'll probably have to try it out. Control F9, this doesn't open at all, so the image tag cannot be changed. So it seems that not all of the tags really are accessible for changing them. I would have to try it out with different tag types to see which ones really can be changed and which ones not. Question, can you change the scrolling speed? I don't think so. I would have to check with support. If I find out something, I would get back to the group. So you said that the log rows in different languages is not perfect, but I assume it is perfect for languages that are in different character sets. As far as I've seen, yes, if you have like Chinese and English or Japanese and German, it seems to work pretty well. So I haven't seen any mistakes there. Another thing, when I do QA and fix an error in a sentence that occurs several times afterwards, is there a way that the fix is auto-propagated like during the translation? Only if you fix the error in the actual editor and then press Control Enter. not if you do it in the list of the error messages. So let's see. Let's do a QA check. So if you are in here and you've changed something here and then confirm, this only confirms this one segment where you are in the list. But if you realize that this comes up several times, what I would do is I would do a double click on the message, which jumps back to the actual document. Then I would correct it here. When I confirm here, it would then run the auto propagation over the whole file. And then I can go back to resolving errors and warnings then here in the list. So that's the only way that I would see to have auto propagation, but it doesn't work in the list of the QA messages. Okay, how do you hide the locked segments? Okay, we just had that. Is there a way to deliver a target file with change tracks for a PM who wants to look at the changes in Office? Okay, for Word files, you can have track changes in the target language file when you export it, but only if you import with options. Let's see, we need to have a Word file. So in the Word file, there is a configuration setting that says for track changes, export track changes markup. So yes, if the file was imported like that, then the export would allow you any track changes that you have on the Word file to also export into the final Word file that you export from memoQ. But that only works for Word files. So tracking changes in other file formats does not work, or it does not work when you export it into the original file format. Another question. I could not find how to get a regex expression into the replace box. Could search by regex, but not replace. Okay. Well, search and replace in regex. This one actually does the regular expression. So for example, if I look for a digit, let's see, make that a group. Say if I find this digit, I want to keep it. And the digit is followed by a percentage symbol. And in my replace, I would like to have the opposite sequence. So first, the percentage symbol, then a space, and then the group, so the $1. So that would then take the value that was found here. But the regular expressions only works in this setup. If you tried it in the search and replace in this setup, that's only for text. But if you want to use regular expressions, use that box to switch it to the regular expression setup. It also tells you are in regex mode, and there it should work. Have you found a way to increase the font size in the comments? Unfortunately not. But again, that is something I will put into the, let's say, into the enhancement list and send it off to support. Okay, for your information, removing the marks, preparation tab, change. Good, thank you. Let's do that. So let's do, where did I have my search and place? Did I have any marks here? Let's see. No. Okay, let's mark something up with search and replace. So everything that has the term with, and mark everything up. Okay, now here is from Kit, and she says, prepare, change and conflicts, clear change marks, active document. Didn't get everything. Let's see, maybe I took the wrong one. Let's see, preparation. Maybe I have to select them. Let's see. In the selections. Nope, not really. If that's how it's supposed to work, then maybe we have found a bug. Okay, I'll keep that in mind and let support know about this. But thank you very much for reminding me. It looks like I haven't really found everything in memoQ that there is to find. So when using find and replace in several files without opening them, it's possible to use the option mark all and then open just the marked segments. Should be, yes. You can then create a view and say, of all these, I want to create a view. Oh, they're already open in views. Let's just close these. So you could create a view. Change marks. Go to the advanced options. Say in the status, get me everything that has a change mark, and then create a view. Well, I didn't have any segments with that criteria, but should work. Yeah. Can you set the go to next to just go to the segment that has not been confirmed and is not locked? Let's see. Where is it? Edit. Go to next, settings. We want to find everything that has not been confirmed. So it's edited, maybe not started, maybe it's pre-translated, but it's not confirmed. And it has, what do we say? It's not locked. Yes, only unlocked rows. So it should be possible to have that kind of combination. Yes. Always go with the status. So do you get a list of all comments by using view first, commented segments only, and then creating your bilingual comment from this view? Yeah, that is possible, to only get a list of segments with comments. Otherwise, you would have a list of all segments and the comments as well, but not only the commented segments. But if you create a view only of the commented segments and then export that bilingual, yes, that's true. Thank you for the tip. Another question. If a file was originally translated in Trados and then edited in memoQ, is there a way of downloading it as XLIF with track changes visible so the translator can see what I changed? Seems to work fine when I do a translation and someone edits it in Trados. I can see that changes fine. I haven't managed to get it to work the other way around yet. Yes, that is something that has to do with Trados. They have a different way of saving the track changes to their files. So memoQ tries to be as compatible as possible, but Trados or other tools on the other side would need to accept these track changes markups in the XLIF files as well. So unfortunately, no, there's no way to create an XLIF file that contains these track changes so that Trados can see it if Trados is not prepared to show them and import them in a way so that it can show them. Sorry about that. Can you do a spell check without opening each document? No, as far as I know, you cannot do a spell check without opening a document, but what I would do is open all documents with a view and then run the spell check on the view so that you have all documents in one go. Can you show us how to use machine translation? Very quickly. You need to set it up in the projects, in the settings. There's the machine translation icon. You can create a new list, give it a name, and in that list, you would have all the plugins of the machine translation systems that memoQ can connect to. You would need to have credentials for these machine translation systems, so they usually want paying subscriptions or whatever you need to do. And then you would go to the settings, configure the plugin, and put in your authentication key, or let's see, it looks a little bit different for every, for every machine translation system that you can connect to. So here you would have the API key to put in and some settings all in all. But I think the Microsoft MT plugin is the only one that can be used without paying for the service. All others would need to have some kind of subscription in the background, but that is between you and the machine translation provider. That is nothing that memoQ really does anything with. Is there a way to export InDesign files as text document without having it bilingual and with the regular text format of the original file? I'm not really sure what you mean. If you say if you import an InDesign document and you want to export it as pure text, I don't think that's possible. Let me just quickly import an InDesign file just to see what kind of settings they give us here. So the only thing that I can do for exporting is plain text, but that does not have any layout, does not have any formatting. But that's the only thing that you can do. Everything else is bilingual or target language format, so InDesign format again. So here, question. You're working on my computer now. Do all these functions work on the server as well? For example, the copy source function doesn't work on the server. Well, you would have to check out the project so that it's local. Some of these things actually really don't work on the server directly because the server is only there for administrating projects. It's not there for working inside of the files. So what you can do is, for example, the views is something that you can only do in local projects. But whenever you check out the project, you can have all these features and then synchronize with the files on the server. But on the server itself, you're right, it's usually just for administration of the projects. So it looks like, yeah, we need to get to the end. I'm going to save the list of the questions. I'll come back to you with an email where I answer all your questions. And yeah, well, thank you very much for being here. And thank you very much for all your questions and your help from the group.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Angelica, for all your tips. So we will send you answers to questions that have been answered by email. And you'll be able to find the recording of the live session on our YouTube channel in a few days.